My songs know what you did in the dark. So light 'em up, 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 light 'em up, 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 light 'em up, up. I'm on fire. So light 'em up, 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 light 'em up, 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 light 'em up, up, up. I'm on fire.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Yinzer on Hockey. I wanted to, since the first games of all of the series have concluded, take a look back at the game ones from each series and what we might expect going forward in each series. First game of the series, the first game of the playoffs was the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia game. Pittsburgh won that game 7-0. Few quick thoughts on that. I thought Philly just looked overwhelmed and underprepared. Really had a hard time clearing their own zone. Had a hard time stopping the fast break from Pittsburgh. So those are some things that Philly, I think, needs to clean up going forward in order to be competitive in this series. Pittsburgh, on the other end, I thought their weakest area was probably in the face-off circle, especially defensive zone face-offs. They weren't very good, but outside of that, it was hard to really pinpoint a weakness on Pittsburgh's team in this game. Murray, another shutout. That's 3 consecutive shutouts in the playoffs. Leaves him at a streak of 206 minutes of continuous shutout time in the playoffs. So he definitely looks like the goaltender that they expected him to be whenever they left Marc-Andre Fleury go to Vegas in the expansion draft. The other game from the first night was Minnesota and the Jets. I thought Minnesota was very competitive in this game. This was probably the best game of the opening round so far. My early projections thought that Minnesota was going to get kind of run over in this series, but they played very well through the whole 60 minutes. Got goals from Matt Cullen and Zach Parise. A couple of veteran guys there, so I think Minnesota gave up a lot of chances and a lot of shots on goal. Devin Dubnyk was very good in net, so we'll see if they can carry that momentum going forward. Something to build off of. On the Winnipeg side, that crowd was amazing. They've waited a long time, and the fans that followed them from Atlanta back to Winnipeg, they were well rewarded with their first ever playoff victory in franchise history. Not counting the original Winnipeg franchise, but it's good of them to get their first playoff win. Something to build off going forward. Patrick Laine had a goal in this game as well. Joe Morrow, the kind of journeyman defenseman, had the game-winning goal for them. So definitely a lot of positives to take out of this game for Winnipeg. They were outstanding in this first game, and the crowd was amazing watching this game. Third game from the first night was Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Las Vegas wins this game 1-0 on an early goal in the first period, and Marc-Andre Fleury with a 30-save shutout. So he's proving his worth in Vegas. Kind of always going to leave some doubt in the Penguins fans' minds as to whether or not they made the right choice, but a great performance from him. Biggest takeaway from the Los Angeles side is just the lack of offense. Not a whole lot of sustained zone time. defense was good. Jonathan Quick was very good, and so if they can generate some offense, obviously Jonathan Quick's going to give them a chance to win games, and need to maintain their discipline. I know their penalty kill was astounding this year, but they're going to have to maintain discipline. Drew Doughty is going to be suspended for game 2, so that's going to put some more pressure on their defensive depth with Muzzin missing time as well. So we'll see where they what changes they make going forward to try and address their offensive woes. The second night of games, Tampa Bay beats New Jersey 5-2. This game was really competitive up until the third period, and then Tampa kind of opened it up in the third period. I think Palat had a goal and 2 assists. Yanni Gord with some points, goal and assist. Tyler Johnson. So that second line really carried the weight for Tampa in that series. I think New Jersey, Taylor Hall with a goal and Travis Zajac. So some things for New Jersey to build off of. I think they kept the game competitive. They outpaced Tampa for a large portion of the early parts of that game. I think if they can play to their speed and try to get Tampa on their back feet and maybe get Tampa drawing some penalties, taking some unnecessary penalties, maybe they can get to Tampa and maybe they can still game 2. Columbus and Washington, the only overtime game of the playoffs so far. Artemi Panarin wins that game in overtime for Columbus. Washington, I think, for the most part, was plagued by the discipline. They took a few bad penalties, put themselves in the box, and gave up a power play goal towards the end of regulation that put the game in overtime. Excuse me. Columbus, they played pretty well between the whistles. Some post-play stuff. There was, I believe, Anderson took a game misconduct penalty in this game. So both these teams are going to have to play a lot more disciplined form of hockey to continue this series. But Columbus is able to go into Washington, steal home ice, and we'll see how they're able to maintain that moving forward. Colorado, Nashville, in the Western Conference. I think that Colorado was very competitive in this game through the first half. I think they had a 2-1 lead into the second period. McKinnon and Landeskog played really well, but McKinnon took a penalty towards the end of the second period that that Nashville was able to capitalize on, and that was that kind of stopped the momentum for Colorado there, and then Philip Forsberg just kind of took over the game from that point. His goal in the third period last night was a phenomenal goal. I think it made it 4-2, but it was kind of dangled the puck between his legs and then slipped it through the defender's legs and then beat Bermier glove side. It was just, it was a piece to behold. It was a very nice goal. And yeah, so Nashville holds serve at home so far. Colorado, if they're able to play with the speed they played with last night, kind of some reckless abandon to play to their youth and speed, maybe they can keep this a competitive series. I don't look for this series to be a runaway by any stretch. I think it's going to be a 5 or 6 game series, and Colorado still has a chance. I think they've proved last night that they are able to play with the top teams. The other game from the East last night was Toronto and Boston, and my assessment of this game is I thought it was sloppy. I thought Toronto just played kind of flat-footed, and the only sign of passion that they really showed in the game was Nazem Kadri, and that was just on a dirty play, a cheap check to the head of Tommy Wingles, who also ended up leaving the game during that same stretch of time. So Toronto, moving forward, I think Boston ended up winning the game 5-1. I think they were like 2 for 5, 3 for 5 on the power play. So all around, Toronto's discipline put them behind the 8 ball in this game, and Boston was able to capitalize on the power play. Backus with a power play goal, and Marchand also had a power play goal. I think Boston had 5 different goal scorers in this game, and just kind of dictated the pace, and was really dominant throughout the entirety of the game. I think Toronto needs to find their discipline before game 2. If not, this could be a fast series. And it looks like I know Kadri has an appointment with the players' safety team today for possible discipline for that hit. So they might be without a 30 goal scorer over the next few games in this series. So this is something for Maple Leaf fans to consider. On tap for tonight is Philly Pittsburgh at 7 o'clock on NBCSN. I think it looks like Brian Elliott will get the start in net again for Philadelphia. Matt Murray will obviously start for the Penguins. Las Vegas, Los Angeles, second game in Las Vegas. And that is 10 p.m. That will be Jonathan Quick in net for Los Angeles, and Marc-Andre Fleury in net for Las Vegas. The other game tonight will be Minnesota at Winnipeg. That will be Devin Dubnyk against Connor Hellebuyck, starting at 7:30. So 3 very good games tonight. To see if the home teams can continue to hold court here on that slate. Let me know what you guys thought of the game ones from each series.